I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
Exactly how did a Disney fan end up debating the critical drinker on Snow White? Well, it happened, and the results were shocking. So just a few hours ago, something pretty crazy happened. The critical drinker, along with Nerdrotic, were invited onto the Piers Morgan Show to go head-to-head with a Disney fan who was all about defending Snow White. This fan was ready to stand up against the flood of negative opinions swirling around the movie, and things got intense.
They saved her life at that point.
They've been down a mine all day. Why isn't she down the mine?
Well, they shouldn't be.
One side had a Disney supporter who repeated the standard company line. They said that they thought Snow White was a great movie and that all the negative feedback was from people who were being unfairly harsh, basically calling the critics a bunch of bigots. They were sticking to the same old arguments that Disney has been making ever since the controversy started. But on the other side, the critical drinker and Nerdrotic weren't holding back. They both pointed out how the trailer for Snow White just doesn't sit right with them. They weren't fans of the changes Disney had made to the original story, and they especially had issues with how Rachel Zegler handled the movie's marketing. They didn't hold back when they said they were unhappy with the way Disney was going. This debate, though, wasn't just about differing opinions. It hit some pretty deep topics. It really dug into why Snow White is facing such fierce backlash, and the conversation made it clear why this film might be headed toward being a huge flop for Disney. So let's break it all down, starting with the opening statements.
You're just outraged because Disney are trying to make the world a better place and you want to live in 1937.
Now, the Disney fan in the debate had a pretty strong take, saying, "This is a movie from 1937 and here we are in 2024 and you're complaining about the differences like 1937 was some golden era?" Right off the bat, it's clear where Disney stands on this whole Snow White remake. They've been really upfront about the fact that a lot of the changes they've made are driven by modern-day political viewpoints. But then, the critical drinker stepped in with a response that really shifted the focus back to what actually matters, the movie itself. And honestly, I think he nailed it. You can go back and forth over opinions and politics forever, but at the end of the day, if a movie just looks bad, none of that really matters. The trailer for Snow White showed dwarves that just didn't look good, plain and simple. It was a huge missed opportunity to cast real dwarf actors who could have been paid well for their work.
Whistle while you work.
Then, Nerdrotic jumped in and took things back to the marketing. He made a point. They've been going after the original Snow White, a movie that's been loved by millions for decades. By attacking the classic, they're alienating a huge part of the fan base, and that's where a lot of the backlash is coming from. Now, whether or not you're on board with Disney's political stance, the truth is, a bad movie is still a bad movie. Sure, some people might want to like it because it aligns with their views, but even those folks need more than just a political message to keep them interested. They need a movie that's actually entertaining. Good performances, engaging cinematography, and of course, a solid plot. Without those things, even people who agree with the film's politics are going to walk away disappointed, and we've already seen that happen. In fact, some feminist blogs have even started criticizing Snow White for its take on feminism. So instead of focusing on the political message, Disney would have been smarter to just talk about the movie. The story, the characters, the visuals. At the end of the day, most people aren't looking for a political lecture when they watch a movie. They just want to enjoy a good story, and that's what should have been front and center in the marketing. You can't rely on politics to carry a movie, especially when the story itself feels flat. But anyway, back to the debate. The critical drinker followed up with a really solid point.
It is a culmination of everything bad about modern movie making. You've got a movie called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that doesn't have dwarves in it.
Now, here's where another huge problem with Snow White comes in. because even the trailer doesn't really tell us what this movie is about. We've already heard from Rachel Zegler, the actress playing Snow White, that the movie has been changed. It's no longer about love, but about leadership. Snow White isn't dreaming about finding true love anymore, she's dreaming about becoming a leader. But the problem? The trailer and interviews haven't explained what the actual plot is. They keep telling us it's different from the original, but they don't show us how it's different or what the new story will look like. They've been super vague, and that's a big red flag, because as we all know, the story is what makes or breaks a movie. So why not market it based on the story? Or at least give a hint of how it's going to make us feel? Take Barbie for example. Yes, it had its political ideas, but the trailer sold us on the fun, the emotions, and the feel-good vibes, which pulled in audiences, even those who didn't agree with the movie's themes. A great story that connects with people can bring everyone together, regardless of politics. Even Brett Cooper pointed this out, showing how strong marketing can work wonders. And that's where Snow White really falls flat. Disney just hasn't marketed it well. Compare that with how Barbie was promoted, and it's night and day. Barbie knew exactly how to connect with the audience, while Snow White is still leaving us all confused about what we're even supposed to expect. Finally, the debate also touched on a point that caused even more drama. Rachel Zegler decided to comment on a global conflict that's closely tied to her co-star, Gal Gadot. This stirred up even more controversy and made things even messier for the movie.
She then shared the trailer on social media and added Free Palestine, despite the fact that her co-star, Gal Gadot, is Israeli.
Rachel Zegler shared her personal opinions, and connecting them directly to the Snow White trailer definitely sparked some strong reactions. It's no surprise that a lot of people got upset, and it ended up creating even more division around this movie. Plus, this could even stir up some tension with her own co-stars, especially since they might have personal ties to the situation she commented on. Honestly, it's a perfect example of why mixing politics with entertainment can be a slippery slope. If Rachel Zegler had just shared her thoughts separately, not tying them to the movie, it might have gone over a lot smoother. After all, Snow White has nothing to do with the real-world conflict she brought up. When you think about it, it's not all that different from what happened with Gina Carano. Gina shared her political views online too, but she got fired from Disney and now she's actually suing them. Meanwhile, Rachel hasn't faced any consequences for doing something pretty similar. And to be clear, I'm not saying Rachel should be fired for having an opinion. I think it's great that Disney didn't react like that. But I do think they should have been fair with Gina Carano too. It feels a bit hypocritical, and it just reinforces that old idea that I always come back to. The movie business should be about creating great stories that bring people together, not pushing one side of a political debate. At the end of the day, the original Snow White brought people together with its timeless story. So why not aim for that same magic now, instead of stirring up controversy? But hey, that's just my take. What do you all think? Did this debate make you see things differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.